As we approach the end of the year, we find ourselves setting new resolutions, and I think we are back to the Flames needing to ask themselves just who they are.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, I thought that we would unpack a little bit of the first half of, I guess, up until this point. There are about 35 games played, and are the Flames exactly where they were 2 seasons ago? Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And let's dive right into this because the Flames. This is a question that has been around as long as the Calgary Flames organization has. Post 1989, I should say. What are the Flames? Who are the Flames? Not in terms of their foundational beliefs or what kind of morale they want in the room, what kind of players they want on their team, but what are we getting on the ice? And right now, they are smack dab in the middle of the league. Again, tale as old as time here. 16th. The Flames consistently find themselves here, and which has kind of gotten them to this point where you can't move up because you don't have that elite talent, and you aren't going down because you have enough talent on your roster. But right now, the Flames would have to give the Montreal Canadiens the 16th overall pick in the first round, thanks to the Monahan trade. And then they would have the 25th overall pick from Florida and the 29th overall from New Jersey. I understand why people are frustrated, because you are not going to be able to fix this lack of elite players in your system with one top 10 draft pick. And I know people look to Buffalo, they look to Ottawa, they look to Detroit, but look at teams like the Florida Panthers. Look at the teams like the LA Kings. What about the Colorado Avalanche? The Oilers have also had, some pretty high-end draft picks as well, and made it to the Stanley Cup final last year. And, you have to, you can't just perseverate on the negatives of what could be, because if this was Brad Treliving still running this team, then I would 100% say, buckle up. This is going to probably just be like this until he's done. But I think that Craig Conroy does have a clearer vision, and he does have a concept of a plan, but you have to start making business decisions that might hurt some feelings, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of discussion about how the San Jose Sharks they had a lot of veterans on their team, similar to the Flames. And there were some bad contracts in that mix as well. And they turned those contracts and those players into draft capital or into prospects, and have been able to pick high enough in the draft where they're getting generational talent like Macklin Celebrini. And I'm not saying I don't think that the Flames have the intention of ripping it down to the studs like that. I just don't, especially with the new arena coming. Like, you're going to need to put butts in the seat for that. And you're not doing that with a bunch of 22-year-olds on your roster. So they have to figure out a way to move out of the middle of the pack. And whatever direction they declare is up to them. I would love to see this team be a truly competitive team. And in order to be that, you need to have that high-end talent. And they're not acquiring that through free agency anymore. And not really through trades either. So where's your other option? The draft. So it's just something to think about. I think that there are a handful of Wranglers prospects that are decent enough to play in the NHL, of course, but none of them have that star it factor sort of thing besides really Zane Parik, who is still probably 2 years out from the NHL. And I don't think teams are just going to hand you their young centerman, especially if he's right-handed. They're not going to do that. Right-handed shot. They're not doing that. So you have to look where those options are. And we know where those are. The draft. I don't see where it would be worth it to necessarily give up, a ton of prospects or draft picks for, someone like a Dylan Cousins. And teams aren't just shipping them out unless there's a bigger problem. And the fact that Buffalo has not really made any trades is, I would say that's the dead giveaway that nothing's happening. But coming up next, we are going to dive into a TSN article that Salim Valji put together interviewing Craig Conroy, because there are some interesting points, and I always appreciate hearing from one of the many men making these decisions. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your other favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, the holiday season here, Prize Picks is giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas and offering 2 free picks throughout the month of December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it super easy to cash out and get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So when the break resumes, maybe you are looking at Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal, and maybe Artemi Panarin for more than 1 assist. It's so simple to make your picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out and cashing in on the fun. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And I hope you all had a fantastic holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. This is it's a good time of year to remember that there's a lot to be thankful for. And even if one of those things is a new general manager for your hockey team. But this was an interview published on the 23rd from Salim Valji. Sat down with Craig Conroy just before the holiday break, and what his New Year's resolutions are for the Flames. Salim Valji asks, I think a lot of people didn't anticipate the Flames being in a wild card spot at this point. How happy are you with the progress of this group? That is a very fair question, considering no one saw this. Again, on paper, this looks like a bottom 5 team, but they are not. They are playing at middle of the pack. So what does Craig Conroy think of this? I think at the beginning of the year, it might have been a positive where people were picking us, what people wanted or what people were saying, because it really brought the team together. They're proud guys. It didn't go the way we wanted last year, but we knew there were some unknowns in goaltending, Kevin Ball, and we had some new people coming in. It takes a little bit of time to come together, it takes a little bit of time to come together, but the way we started the first game in Vancouver was a very good feeling. Then it carried on for a little bit, and he goes on to highlight Matt Coronato and how people freaked out when he was reassigned, and then he was right back up, and that kind of lit a fire under him. And you see the young guys having progression. I think the line of Kadri, Huberdeau, and Pospisil looks really good, especially when they've been put together this time. That is true. Huberdeau has had 11 points in his last 13 games. That is not the Jonathan Huberdeau we have seen here in Calgary. So lots of positives, and I think that there's still a lot of growth for us. We don't score a lot of goals. It's hard to win like that night in, night out, but the guys are finding a way. Yes, they are. Okay, next question. You mentioned areas of growth. What do you want to see out of this group? Again, another really good question, because what are the expectations for this team? Because you're chilling in the middle of the pack when you were not projected to be anywhere near here. What do you want to see more of? What else could you possibly want? I think special teams continue to improve. I think the power play has been going well. I thought lately the penalty kill has been much better, and I think some of that is with Jakob Pelletier on it. I would have to agree that the penalty kill, while it's still not my favorite to see them out on the ice, it is not, it doesn't make me as nauseous or scared. I'm not watching through my fingers like it's a horror movie. I don't get the urge to change the channel necessarily, depending on who they're playing. But no, I would have to agree with that. And I think that that's great to see a young player like Pelletier, who's been looking for his chance to really make a true difference on the Flames roster, get that chance and have it be translating, especially in an area where the Flames have been struggling all season in his absence. The one big thing that is probably my biggest concern is face-offs. Yep. I would have to agree with that, Mr. Conroy. I think all of us have kind of been very concerned with that. And, we've talked about it a lot throughout this season and how you're not going to win a game when you're winning 35% of the face-offs or you're going 0 for 11 in a period. But I would like us to be much better, a much better face-off team. They talked about Matt Coronato. That's not a sustainable option. I'm sorry, but and they want to keep continuing seeing progress, improving with the Flames power play as well. And here we have these two back-to-back questions, which I find to be very important and kind of the focal point of where the Flames should be emphasizing their priorities. And this is what they need to be looking for. And that is, of course, Salim Valji saying that lack of right-handed centerman, how much is that holding the group back? Conroy says, you're looking for it, but talking to teams, it's something hard to get. And if they have it, they're not giving it up, especially now when you look at the standings. There's many teams that are still in the playoff hunt. They have a good week. They have a good couple weeks. They're right back in it. Maybe as we get back from Christmas break and we get closer to Four Nations, I think some teams will fall out and other teams will rise. There are some trades here and there, but you don't see many centers moving. Correct. Yes, we know this. It feels very obvious. But then Valji follows it up with, is there a prototype for age or skill that you're looking for? With our group, you'd like to see younger than 25, someone that could play here for a little bit, and then elaborates there and says, Rory Currens has been very good in the American League. Do something about it. We have all been clamoring and hollering and hooting for this young man to come up and get a shot. And then just goes on to talk about the defensive pairings with Uyghur and Miramonov. And then we talk about buyers and sellers and trade market. How do you characterize the Flames in that regard? I think this is a very important question because we have been asking ourselves this. The Flames should not be buying. You can buy, but you're not buying to compete this year necessarily. Okay. We're doing what's best for the better. Okay. Wow. We're just trying to do what's better long-term for the team. But I've also seen lots of good things with this team. They put us in a position where we're right in the wild card. No, I'm going to say this. I think Dustin Wolf has been doing that. Yes, he's had a few bad outings, but if you do not have the stellar goaltending that you've had from him and Dan Vladar, you are basement dwelling teams. And again, this was the issue last year with Jacob Markstrom being so good. And, you have this conundrum of, yes, it's great to have good goaltending in the future of Flames goaltending, but maybe we could have had a little bit of a gap. I think, you'll see where you are closer to the deadline when teams think they are fully in, and then you'll probably have more of those conversations. Yeah. But I appreciate the emphasis that he puts on, we're just trying to do what's better long-term. Okay. So what's better for you long-term is not buying at the trade deadline. But coming up next, we are going to go over who I think would be on the Flames' naughty or nice list. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W, and I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. I am not necessarily the greatest when it comes to all those numbers, but I like deciding who's going to score more and what it'll be. And not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points that each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are following me on Blue Sky at Just Belmosto. When it comes to this time of year, we all have to wonder, are we on the naughty or nice list? Because there might be some nice moments that stick out to you, but other times you might be on the naughty list because overall you kind of stunk. But let's go over the nice list. First up is our goaltending tandem of Vladar and Dustin Wolf. Both are coming in after not having any, I don't want to say any expectations, but there was a lot of unknowns surrounding them. Obviously, Dan Vladar, his season ended early last season because he had hip surgery, and Dustin Wolf came up and kind of he was able to find momentum there after consistently being up rather than constantly up and down like he had been earlier when Markstrom was sick or hurt. But these two have made this team watchable. I know it is so unexpected, and Wolf has had a great start for a rookie. He has been involved in Calder conversations, as well as Dan Vladar's comeback. I think both of those things are fantastic. We are always rooting for the underdogs here at Locked On Flames, because I feel like that is the true definition of the Calgary Flames. We talk about Vegas being like the misfits after the expansion draft, but I feel like that's a little too mean and just not true. But I feel like the Flames all have that underdog, something to prove mentality. No matter if you've won 2 Stanley Cups like Blake Coleman, or you just won one like Ryan Lomberg, or maybe you get traded here after the Flames star player decides he wants out. So you have a good group of hardworking people that want what's best for each other. And I also have Kadri and Huberdeau on this list as well. As these veterans have performed this season, they're the top 2 scoring leaders on the team. I would say they've earned their presence. They have absolutely earned enough, done enough hard work to earn their gifts rather than Cole. Nazem Kadri, he has 22 points on the season, which is great. Another strong center for the Flames with as well as Michael Backlund. But when Kadri signed that contract in free agency, he was likely expecting to come in and play for a more competitive team, because that is what everyone thought was going to happen. And then we know where that led. During these past few seasons, these last 1.5 so far, he has been a fantastic mentor for players like Connor Zary and Martin Pospisil, who we're going to talk about in just a second. But I think that Pospisil and Zary's success is because of the mentorship that they had from such a strong center, Stanley Cup champion, who, he played like Pospisil for his seasons in Toronto sometimes. So I think that there's, a good balance there, that skill, but also life lessons. It's a good balance. And Jonathan Huberdeau leading the team with 25 points. I know people are going to say, oh, he's only on pace for 60 points. Wow, that's so great. You know what? That's more than he had his first 2 seasons in Calgary. And I know the bar is so low. And I understand. I would be upset if someone said that too. But when you think about the struggles that he has had in Calgary, heck, all of last December, he had 1 point. 1 point. He is finishing this month with, I think 10, 9 or 10, which is crazy, because this is not the Huberdeau that we have seen for the Calgary Flames. And that is what makes it exciting. And whatever has happened to shift has been great. It's been great. And I think, it's nice to see him play with confidence again. And at the end of the day, I'm never rooting for a player's downfall if they play for my team, unless it's like someone that's a horrible person. Just think of any Edmonton Oiler, really. Or no, I shouldn't say that, but Stan Bowman does like to acquire questionable people. But no, I am just I'm happy for him because we have been waiting for this. We have been looking for this. It's not vintage Huberdeau by any means, but it is still consistent scoring, and that's what the Flames have needed. And of course, on my naughty list, Martin Pospisil. He has taken the most penalty minutes from January 1st of this year up until the start of the break with 147. 147 penalty minutes, Martin Pospisil. Like, and I know I've said it a lot. I've said it a lot, especially last year when he got suspended. But as a player who has such a lengthy concussion history to the point where he was ready to retire after his last one, don't you think you'd play with a little more grace and a little more thoughtfulness? And him and Matt Rempe have the same amount of misconducts. So, that is a conversation that we may need to start exploring and digging into. But I think that Martin Pospisil can play a good game. He is not like a Ryan Reeves at this point in his career who just goes out on the ice and throws big hits and injures people. We know that Martin Pospisil has an offensive edge. So let's find that and focus on that rather than throwing an elbow, making a questionable hit, things like that. And I understand, some of those things are part of the game. However, there's a line. And you are constantly crossing that line. I can't defend you anymore. I cannot defend you because at this point, if he does something when the Flames come back from break and he gets a hearing, he is considered a repeat offender the same way Matt Rempe was because he's had a suspension in the last 18 months. Should 18 months pass and he doesn't have another hearing or anything, another suspension, then he's considered not a repeat offender. So we need to find a way for him to channel his things into scoring rather than physically, physicality in unnecessary moments. I get it. There are absolutely times for big hits, legal hits, mind you, but let's channel that properly. And that'll do it for me here on today's Boxing Day edition of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and are enjoying your holiday meal leftovers and cozying up on the couch because it is World Junior Classic time. And make sure you subscribe to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And I will actually see you later today. Bye-bye.